In this video, we want to talk about product modification through innovation. Now, a few comments to start. First of all, we must distinguish invention from innovation. Invention is the act of entrepreneurship. It's the act of trying to imagine some new product or some new service. This will be totally new, and this is where the entrepreneur comes into play. The entrepreneur is the person who thinks up this idea, something new, something different. And once the product has been thought out and perhaps even delivered, designed, produced, delivered perhaps, immediately others will become involved with the product in some way. They may be involved in terms of production or sales or distribution or whatever it is. Others will become involved with the product or the service, and they will start to modify it or make recommendations. If only the product could do this, it would be more appealing. If only the product could do that, it would be better in this way. So recommendations are coming forward about the product or about the service. And these recommendations are the basis of innovation. So first of all, we get the invention, something completely new, something different. And once it's been delivered, once it's been put in place, then we get the recommendations for change and the realignment of the product or the service to more accurately fit customers' wants and expectations. So we're talking here about product modification through innovation. This means we've got past the invention stage. Invention is firstly bringing it about, whatever the product is or the service is. We're now into the stage where that product exists or that service exists. And now we're talking about the innovation, the changes that are being brought into place to modify it, to make it more acceptable and more marketable in the context of customer requirements. So let's talk about innovation. Innovation is referred to as a new or improved product. I say new here. Really what we're talking about is some adjustment to an existing product. That the newness will be invention. But insofar as there is a change to the original product, then it is a new product. It is different. It may be distinctly different. I mean, if we consider something even like smartphones today, smartphones today are a lot different to smartphones a few years ago. To some extent, they're a new product, albeit the case that they have got to where they are today through innovation, through changes over time. And this is the modification we're going to talk about. So we're talking about improved product, changes in a product that improve it and more accurately align it with customers' wants and expectations. It could be a new method of production or distribution. It doesn't have to be a product. It could be a service or a new method of production, a new way of producing something. That's the innovation. It's a change inside the organization, a change of the production process, perhaps computer-aided manufacturing techniques or the introduction of robotics or whatever it is within the workplace. It's a new method of production or distribution, and that could be the innovation. In this video, we'll focus on innovation as a new or improved product. We'll take the first one. The second part will be the subject matter of other videos elsewhere. So product innovation may take one of two forms. A new product that addresses some niche in the market. Now, technically, we're bordering very close here to invention. If it's totally new and there is no existing product similar, then that really is an invention. But as I said earlier, there is a fine line here between innovation and invention, because it could be argued that an innovative product is different from the original one, and therefore it is in itself an invention, albeit based on a previous generation. But here we're playing with words. So we're talking about, one way or the other, we're talking about a new product that addresses some niche in the market. That's the point. Let's not get bogged down by a discussion of the distinction between invention and innovation in this video. That's the subject matter of other videos elsewhere. An improved existing product. This may be a style change or additional functionality. Once a product exists, the management team will want to review the product, get feedback from the marketing section, from the market itself, and from customer feedback, perhaps even using focus groups. It'll want feedback, and the feedback may recommend style changes, certain tweaking to even the packaging or the delivery terms, or it could be extra functionality incorporated in the product. Now, innovation is critical for the success of some firms. In fact, we could almost stroke out the sum and say innovation is critical for the success of all firms. Rapid technological change that leads to innovation may also lead to fast obsolescence. And in there is a problem. Sometimes companies come up with really good ideas. These are innovations. They put them innovations on the market, but then because of the onward encroachment almost of new technology, the onward march of new technology, that product becomes obsolete. We can all think of examples of this. Games consoles from the past. The console was excellent in its time, but it's been superseded. It's been bypassed. So technology has made it obsolete. So rapid technological change may lead to obsolescence. Products which were perfectly fine and good products become obsolete because of technological change. And customers want the latest. Fast product development may be necessary to meet customer expectations, which are fueled by better market knowledge. It's also necessary because market competitors are also engaged in rapid product and process developments. You see, there's a lot more information around today than there was in the past. Today we know what the market is. We can check the market online. We can check prices online. We can check functionality of products. It seems like the only thing we can't do online is physically touch the product. But the competitive process is promoted through greater information. But that information is not restricted, as this point makes, to the customer or to the set of customers. That market information is also shared around amongst the producers and the potential producers, not just domestically, but internationally. So it's a much more intense and competitive environment. Innovation that leads to product modification may fail in the market and lead to an alienation of long-standing customers. Costly market research may be needed to avoid failure. So sometimes companies may modify products in line with feedback from marketing personnel and from, as I said, from focus groups and from interested parties. But having said that, the modifications themselves are rejected. People don't like them. We often get situations like this in computing. Just a simple one. For example, when Microsoft introduced Windows 10, a lot of people thought this was wonderful. Microsoft were happy with the feedback that Windows 10 was going to be the platform for computing, for home computing in particular. However, many customers were not happy about this. They liked Windows 7, Windows 8. They didn't like this idea of Windows 10 and the way it was laid out and so on. So Microsoft made provision that customers could step back if they wished, back to a previous generation. Because they didn't want to lose customers, they didn't want to alienate the customers. They wanted to keep the customers. They're saying their latest product, Windows 10, has this functionality, but just in case you don't like it, you can go back to Windows 7 or Windows 8 or whatever it was. And that option, as far as I know, still remains within Windows 10. And there will be people who, say, contribute to forums in the context of computing, who still talk about very early versions of operating systems supplied by Microsoft, who talk about Windows Vista or XP or the very early versions. Whether they hang on to these as a matter of nostalgia or functionality, they simply like them, is difficult to say. But technological progress may be inhibited by this reticence on the part of customers to embrace the changes. So product modification may fail because the modification itself may alienate the customers, and that has to be borne in mind. Generally speaking, however, innovation is welcomed and leads to a better quality of life. By and large, the vast majority of the population accept innovation and welcome it. But that seems to be the evidence. That's why we've got new products, and we don't have to do statistical research to back up this statement. We can do it by observation. We know that different versions of the mobile phone or the smartphone have come out and replaced earlier versions. We know that different versions of Windows operating system have replaced previous versions, and the same also for Apple and their operating systems, and so on. So, generally speaking, innovation is welcomed. There are three different types of innovation. The type of innovation depends on the time it takes for customers to adapt to the new product. When there's an innovation, customers have to adapt to it. They have to learn about this adaptation. They have to learn about this new product. Really, that's what it is. It's an amended product, but it is really quite a new product. So they have to learn how to use it, its functionality, all the ins and outs of daily use. So customers have to be brought on this journey. They have to be taken along with training programs, with support, with forums, with backup. They have to learn how to use this particular product. And this applies not just in the computing area, but it could be in terms of apparatus within the kitchen or within the house generally. By and large, the producers of this innovative product need to educate and train the users how to effectively use it. Some products are quickly adopted by customers and some take longer. This relies on the degree of change the product brings into the customer's lifestyle. See, some innovations are small, some are complex. The more complex it is, the longer it takes customers to adjust to it. But customers don't want the problems of adjustment. They want it easily. They want it done easily. So part of the innovation process is to design in the reticence that customers have in learning new ways. So it's imperative that the designers of the innovative product make it easy for the users to get to know how to use it, how to maintain it, and how to integrate it into their lifestyles. The three types of innovation are continuous innovation, dynamically continuous innovation, and discontinuous innovation. And in the rest of this video, we'll look at these. So we'll start with continuous innovation. Now, continuous innovation is when existing products are slightly modified and introduced as new products. So we take some existing product, and there's a slight variation in it, some sort of addition to it, innovative addition to the product, and then it's launched back as a new product. Continuous innovation is important as products need to maintain their competitive stance within the marketplace. So once a product is established within the marketplace and once its reputation is established, then the innovators don't want to damage that. So they might make small modifications. They might make many of them over a period of time. But instead of making some big radical change to the product, which will change its image and its perception in the market, and may damage the market as a consequence, instead of doing that, they may phase in the changes over several modifications. And that also makes them, of course, look like a dynamic firm, an innovative firm, bringing out lots of different innovative changes to the product. Whereas, in fact, perhaps it could all have been done at once, but there's a risk of alienating some of the customers. So take the customers through it, bit by bit. Continuous innovation builds a brand's product line, and if it's successful, it will gain market share. So it's continuous innovation, it's continuously moving the product forward, perhaps incrementally, not necessarily by big jumps, perhaps by small jumps. But it's moving the brand along, and that could enhance the business's innovative credentials. The business is seen as innovative, and as a consequence, it may gain market share. Continuous innovations are easier to adopt for customers since there is little or no learning curve. That's the point. It's easy for the customers to come to terms with the changes. The changes are few. And that means essentially the product remains the same. It's just there are a few differences. And gradually the product introduces more new differences and more. And in that way, it's continuous. They're stepping up to where they want to be, but instead of doing it all in one jump, they want to phase it in. And that means customers can easily adapt to the changes. The degree of change depends on an assessment of changing customers' needs and also on marketing strategy. A lot of this will be driven by feedback from the marketing personnel who have their finger on the marketing pulse. They know what customers are saying, what they want, they know what the competitors are doing, and they feed back on the optimum strategy for the delivery of an innovative product. Changes may copy the most successful products in the market. These may be owned by competitors, and it may be viewed as a form of piracy. But the truth is, when a product is hugely successful in the marketplace, the competitors will try to copy it. They will try to imitate it because they know that product is successful. So whatever the innovation, if a company comes up with some change, other companies will tend to try to copy it and integrate it because they want a part of that market. This, of course, leads to greater homogeneity in the product range. Nowadays, modern cars, they're broadly similar. They've got internet facilities, they've got satellite navigation, they've got certain types of heating and lighting, and they may look different, but even that sometimes is very similar. The appearance of the cars may be quite similar. And in terms of functionality on the inside, the driver experience or the passenger experience, it may be similar to other cars. And that's because the producers have worked out that these adaptations, these innovations by their competitors have been successful, so they also try to copy them. Now let's turn to dynamically continuous innovation. Dynamically continuous innovation requires some degree of learning and change in behavior on customers' behalf. So dynamically continuous means the customers must change. They must learn about this. They can't just move over. They have to work on the changes. They have to learn about the product. In this case, the existing product is modified to meet changing customer requirements, or the business decides to introduce new technologies in an effort to stave off competition. The process requires customers to learn how to use the product. So this is much more heavyweight innovation. Heavyweight in the sense that customers need to expend effort, spend time, and learn how to use it. If they do, they have access to greater functionality and to a better product. If they don't, they have to stay with the existing product. But if they want to upgrade, they need to learn how to use it. Example, smartphones. Each generation adds innovative functionality. We have to learn how to use a smartphone. It's not intuitive. You've got to learn how to send texts or to attach pictures or videos, or a lot of it is very similar to traditional computer technology, accessing the web, for example, via a browser. But a lot of it, in terms of the integration and storing files online and accessing information from the past and so on, this may require expert knowledge or quite detailed knowledge of the use of some applications, or apps as they're called. So in this case, the purchaser has to meet the innovator more than halfway. The purchaser, the user has to learn about the innovation and about the changes that have been introduced. Now, next we come to discontinuous innovation. Discontinuous innovations are radical changes in products, or the introduction of new products that change the way we live and our lifestyles. These are discontinuous. So our lives are moving along smoothly, and then there is a discontinuous shift. The trend line jumps. It jumps at a point where a new product has been introduced which will radically change our lifestyles. Discontinuous innovation requires major change in attitude, behavior, and lifestyle. We have to adjust to this. So, companies that retail had to adjust to the introduction of credit cards. They had to make that facility available. They couldn't just incorporate it gently. It was a radical shift, quite a big shift, moving from cash to cashless. Now, the introduction of, let's say, Apple Pay, they have to have additional equipment to take payment using a telephone. And if we think about that sufficiently long, then it's very difficult to describe to people in the past that we would buy our groceries using a telephone. That simply would not make sense. There has been a discontinuous innovation, a big jump, but it just doesn't happen in the context of retailing and payment methods I just mentioned. It happens across many areas of our lives. But if we want this product, we have to learn how to use it. We have to spend time learning how it's used, learning its processes, learning what it can do and what it can't do, learning how to fix it if it goes wrong, if there's a basic fix to it. It's discontinuous. This is not something that smoothly fits in with our lives. Some gentle introduction to change. This is a radical change. This is a change which is discontinuous. Time needs to be invested to learn the new product, simply because it's the only product in the market. This is new. So therefore, it requires time to learn how to use it. It can't just be adopted and put in place without an investment on the purchaser's side, an investment in terms of effort and time and study of the functionalities and uses of the product. It's discontinuous innovation. For example, if we go back far enough, personal computers and the internet, that's not intuitive. There is nothing inside the human psyche to say that this is something that we can do naturally. This is something we had to learn how to use. We have to learn protocols and ways in which computers connect and what the connections can do. We can now view live television, or we can view videos, or we can send videos, or we can send pictures, or we can email friends and businesses and make queries online, and we can buy products online, and so on. But this is not intuitive. This had to be learned. We have to learn, first of all, how to use the computers, how to use laptops and PCs and iMacs and whatever systems people go for and like. We have to learn how to use them, then we have to learn what the internet's all about, and we have to make the connection between the two and learn how to use them. It's discontinuous. Before personal computers, consumers may have been accustomed to smooth transitions from one technology to the next, but then suddenly there's a jump. And that is the discontinuous aspect. In general, innovation is desirable as it improves our lives. Generally speaking, we like innovation. It makes lives easier. It gives us different products, vacuum cleaners without a cord, vacuum cleaners that are easy to use and can be used throughout the house without having to plug it in or unplug it or whatever it is. Smartphones that are capable of delivering information to us instantaneously almost. The introduction of an innovative product is similar to the launch of a new product. And that's the point. An innovative product is different to the original one. So it's like a mini invention. So the original product is, let's say, an invention. That's the original one. That's the inspiration of the entrepreneur. An innovation is a modification to that product. So it changes the product. So it's like a mini invention, like a new product, because it's got this extra dimension, this innovation incorporated. So it therefore requires resources and also market research, and it involves the risk of market failure. When companies innovate, they are running the risk of alienating their customers. They are running the risk of spoiling their own market. And that needs to be borne in mind by the producers. Innovation and modification help to keep a product fresh and thereby help to maintain its competitive advantage. As customers, we like new things. We like new products. That seems to be the evidence. We take to these new products and we like them. But we like existing products if they haven't included some significant innovation. At least the style may have changed, or they have been kept up to date in terms of fashion and design. So if it doesn't, the products may become stale, old-fashioned, out of date. The perception may change. So it may be that the marketing section of a business will have to work hard to maintain the product in the eyes of the purchaser, maintain it as a fresh product, a desirable product. But modification and changes, even small ones, can maintain the product in the marketplace. So innovation is important in that sense also. In the case of discontinuous innovation, the customer must dedicate time and effort to learn how to use and maintain the product. Discontinuous innovation is big innovation. It changes the product so that the customer has to learn about the product. It really is bordering on a different invention. We say it's discontinuous innovation, but we could put a line through that and say new invention, because the product is different and the customers have to learn about the product. And that's very similar to what happens when there is a new invention and a new product comes out on the market. So those are some ideas about product modification through innovation. Again, quite an important class because it introduces to different types of innovation, which enables us to have a framework for discussing this topic. But that's all we're going to deal with here, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.